Am I the asshole for not wanting my boyfriend to bring his husky on vacation with us? My 34 female boyfriend, 35 male, and I have been together 1.5 years, and he has a 9-year-old husky. I've been trying to plan a getaway/vacation together since we started dating. At first, every time I would mention going away, he would either want to bring his dog with him or tell me he can't put her in a kennel or dog sitter, etc. because she wasn't spayed. She was finally spayed 9 months ago. I will be honest, I can't stand his dog. She doesn't listen ever unless you raise your voice at her, which he deals with. She doesn't eat her food and will let herself starve for XYZ reason. She runs away every chance she gets when let out. She will run away while next to her. She is horrible to walk. She pulls like there's no tomorrow. She also tries to jump on people in the street and run after dogs, cats, squirrels, etc. She jumps on you when you come in, will sit on you if you let her on the bed or couch, so I no longer allow her on my bed. You can't crate her because she destroys the crate. You also can't have doors closed because she has destroyed door frames. For all these reasons, I refuse to have her come with us anywhere. To me, that is not a vacation. It will not be relaxing. We will prevent ourselves from doing things, and she may destroy an Airbnb or hotel room if left alone. He, however, wants to do a pet-friendly vacation. He has no family or friends who could watch her, so the only option would be a kennel or dog sitter or some form of that. All of that makes him nervous, and he called me an asshole for not wanting to bring her along. So, am I the asshole for not wanting to take a pet-friendly vacation?
Am I wrong for telling my terminally ill sister that she can't have my mum's engagement ring? Story time. So my mum passed away when I was 7 and she gave my uncle / her brother her engagement ring. The ring was originally her mum's and it has been passed down through many generations. And eventually I will be able to give it to my daughter or son when they wanted to get married. So 2 years after my mum passed, my dad remarried. This woman had 2 daughters. I wasn't really that close to them, but I also didn't have anything against them. We'll call her eldest daughter Amy. Now, unfortunately, last month, Amy was diagnosed with terminal cancer. A few days after we got this diagnosis, her boyfriend actually proposed to her, said that Amy had mentioned my mum's engagement ring. She said she absolutely loved it because it was just so beautiful. He said that she had always dreamed of having my mum's engagement ring because of how stunning it was. So her boyfriend told my dad's wife, and then my dad's wife told my dad. All 3 of them were like, just give it to her because you know one day you're going to eventually get it back. They were saying how nice it would be for me to be able to fulfill her wishes given the circumstances. I made it very clear that I did not want to give them my ring. However, I did say I could give them a photo of it so that they could get it replicated. We love a compromise. Woo! Unfortunately not. I wish I could do my makeup without getting mascara all over my eyelid. And they did not like that suggestion one bit. God, I forgot how gorgeous this flawless filter is. And this was when they told me that I was denying her a family ring. But with all due respect, like, she is not part of that family. Amy never even met my mum. So the more I thought about it, I was a little confused as to how Amy knew about the ring in the first place. And this is when he told me that he had been showing Amy pictures of the ring throughout the years. He said that he thought this would have been a nice little bonding thing to do with them when they were younger. My stepmom literally begged me to give her this ring. It went as far as Amy even writing me a letter asking if she could have my mum's ring. She said it would be an absolute honour to get married wearing my mum's ring. And I'm getting shit from my dad, my stepmom, and my stepsister's fiance. So what do you think? Am I wrong here?
I worked at Brandy Melville for approximately 1 day. So, I want to say a couple months ago, I was shopping in Brandy Melville. I just needed some clothes, and I go to check out with my bag full of clothes, and the girl that's checking me out at the register goes, "Oh my god, you look like you could work at Brandy Melville." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much. I'm going to take it as a compliment." I am. I think I'm pretty. I'm going to take it as a compliment. And so she goes, "No, seriously, like, you should apply to work here." And at the time, I didn't really need a second job. Like, I was pretty happy in my career. I don't need a second job. But I will do it for the plot. And so I'm like, "Okay, how do you like working here?" And she goes, "Well, if you get hired on, you won't see much of me because I'm not working here anymore. But everybody else really loves it." And so I took that and I was like, "Okay, maybe." And I was like, "How much do y'all get paid?" And she goes, "Oh, we get paid like $20 an hour." For $20 an hour, I'll do it. And so she directs me to scan a little QR code. So I scanned the QR code, and I thought it was going to be like a normal job application. No, that job application said, availability, Instagram handle. Okay. So I put in my availability, and I put in my Instagram handle, and I don't think much of it. I kid you not, like maybe like 2 months pass, and I kind of forget about it. I forget all about Brandy Melville. Until one day I'm on my phone and somebody double taps one of my photos. I go check to see who liked it because it's not somebody that I'm following or that follows me. And the like goes away. And so I'm like, okay, that's a little sus, but whatever. 5 minutes later, I get a little text. Hey, Jayla, it's so-and-so from Brandy Melville. Got your application. Really thought you'd be a great fit. Do you have time for a FaceTime? A FaceTime? Okay. And like I said, I'm going to do it for the plot. She calls me up, and she is just talking. And she goes, we saw your Instagram. You thought you'd be a great fit. Tell me a little bit about your retail experience. And mind you, I have like a 1.5 years of Lululemon experience, so retail can be fine for me. She goes, great. I'll pass over all this information to my manager. Like, what information have I given you? You saw my Instagram. You know I worked at Lululemon. I guess that's all you need. And so she texted me 5 minutes later. Was like, actually, can I get your email too? I totally forgot to ask. Okay. And then a little bit after that, they sent me over like, oh, welcome to the team. Here's your onboarding. Okay, cool. Got the job. Easy. And so it takes a little bit of time for me to get started on. I don't know why, just like back and forth. I have a second job. They weren't really structured or organized. And so I finally get started and I come in for my first day of training. And I kid you not, I got 0 training. They said, hop on a register. Okay, I can put 2 and 2 together. I can do this. It's not gonna be that hard. And so I put 2 and 2 together. I start scanning people, welcoming people in. She tells me, you don't have to talk to anybody if you don't want to. Okay, I mean, sure. And so she then shows me how to like fold the clothes. And as I'm progressively doing this and my day is just ticking away, I notice that I am starting to talk like this. And I'm starting to lose brain cells. Like the 2 that I walked in there with, I'm gonna walk out with 1. 1 is staying at Brandy Melville. And this is no hate to the girls that work there, but it's just not for me personally. And so I called my best friend up because, mind you, they forgot to send me on my break until about 45 minutes until my shift was over. And I was working an 8-hour shift, so I was a little mad. But they sent me on my break and I call my best friend and I say, I'm gonna walk out. I'm gonna leave. I can't do this. I'm losing brain cells. And she goes, Jayla, really? And if you know me, I stayed at the same job for about 6 years. Like I'm a loyal girly. So me wanting to walk out of a job and to tell you, it was really bad. Like, it wasn't good. It wasn't worth the little $20 an hour they were giving us. A great job for a high schooler or a freshman in college that just want something low-key, simple. I think that would be perfect for them. Not for me. I need something with a little bit more, just a little bit more. And so I returned back to finish out the last 15 minutes of my shift because I'm a good person. Finish out the last 15 minutes of my shift. It's a closing shift. And they're like, oh my God, Jayla, you did such a good job. You just really picked up on it. Like, so when do you want to work next? And I'll send you over like our group me and I'll send you over everything that you need to get started on. I say, oh, thank you. I'm not coming back. They don't know that, but I'm not coming back.
Am I the astronaut for leaving a dinner party after a girl sat on my husband's lap? I am still so shook with everything, so sorry for my rambling. My husband, Jake, and I have been married for 3 years, and from the beginning he was very close with his best friend's sister, Cindy, 18 female. Well, my husband would often talk about her and tell how he had seen her grow up throughout the years. Cindy is always very bubbly and seems very fond of Jake as well. I remember when we were dating, she would ask to come along on our dates a lot. It's interesting. I never really said anything as I liked spending time with her as well. She was like a little sister to me. When we announced our engagement, she asked my husband to better not forget her after being a married man and to still hang out with her. Well, we got married and I even made her my bridesmaid. Soon we moved to a different state and kind of lost contact. Now Jake's best friend came to stay with us for some time and Cindy came along as well. Now the moment she saw us, the first thing she said was how hot my husband has gotten, and she was glad he didn't look like those boring married men. Then throughout their stay, Cindy would just ignore my presence and will be way too close with Jake. I told Jake that it was looking a bit inappropriate and to ask Cindy to tone it down, but he said that Cindy is just a bit childish and is that way with everybody. Well, on our last day, we decided to host a dinner party for everybody. During the party, I was with Jake when Cindy came and told me, oh, I need to steal your husband for a while. And before I could say anything, she grabbed Jake's hand and took him for playing games. I ignored it since it was our last day, but then throughout the dinner, she was getting way too close with Jake and would just drag him away whenever I would be around while giggling at me. When everybody sat for dinner, I sat beside Jake and Cindy came last. She then said, "Oh, there's no seat," and just went and sat on my husband's lap. Everybody was surprised, and Jake said, laughing, "Cindy, stop acting like a kid. You're not a kid anymore." Cindy started laughing, saying it was a joke, and got up and sat on another seat while giggling at me. Yeah, I was so angry with the disrespect and the fact that Jake was so cool with it, but I didn't want to say anything bad, so I excused myself and took my car and left. About an hour later, Jake called me asking where I was. I told him I'm going to my friend's house and I will come over after Cindy has left. I know what I did was terrible, but I was so angry at the time that if I stayed there any longer, I would have probably started fighting or crying. I came the next day, and Cindy and her family had left. Jake was very pissed and said I took things too far. I started crying and told him how everything made me feel. He said I was horrible to think such things about Cindy and that she was like his sister. I told him I was not doubting his intentions, but I was hurt by how very disrespectful Cindy's behavior was and how he was enabling her by not saying anything. He started saying that I sounded ridiculous and couldn't even take a joke, referring to the sitting on the lap incident. I said, regardless, I don't want her in my house again. To top it off, Cindy sent a message saying that she was sorry about making me insecure of myself. Oh, and that she would make sure to make me feel better. But I should not have left as it was pretty childish and kind of spoiled the mood. It felt so backhanded, I didn't reply to her. I just told my husband he needs to maintain a distance with Cindy. He asked if I was giving him an ultimatum. I said if he will go as far as disregarding and disrespecting my feelings for Cindy, this really rubbed me the wrong way. And he said since I have such disgusting thoughts in my mind and is giving him an ultimatum anyways, then he might as well leave because he cannot live with such an insecure person who has disgusting thoughts about him. He packed a bag and left for his mother's place. I tried apologizing numerous times, telling him how sorry I am for everything, but he is ignoring my texts and calls. Later, Cindy's brother texted me, calling me a bunch of names to think like that about his sister, saying Jake should just leave me and a disgusting person like me deserves to be alone. I could not stop crying after that. I don't know how to fix this. Is there a way to even come back? Was I so wrong to deserve this? I don't know anymore. Let's dive into the update here. For people who are still asking me about the update in private messages, so my mother-in-law came with my husband and, well, the talk happened. There were a lot of things, but I will try to summarize. Basically, Jake apologized to me first and tried to explain his point of view. He said that he was angry because A, I left without saying anything for the whole night when he was literally trying to just diffuse the situation and tried to laugh it off because it was so awkward he didn't know what else to do, but instead of communicating, I just left him in that weird situation. He was meeting his friends after such a long time and just wanted the dinner to be peaceful, and Cindy was going back anyways, and we would most likely never meet her again. B, he acknowledged Cindy was indeed overstepping boundaries, but he didn't know how to bring it up since he has literally seen her growing up and she is like a little sister to him. Also, she acts like that with everyone. He thought that it was just for a few days and he wanted no drama during their stay, so he would just brush it off. He did acknowledge he was wrong about not saying anything. C, he was already really worried and sad because how I just left with no explanations. Even after I came home, not once did I ask how he felt. He was also very overwhelmed with everything and felt I was accusing him for not doing anything when he literally pushed her off as politely as possible when she tried to sit. He felt I was attacking his character and even gave an ultimatum, which made him so sad he felt as if I thought that less of him. It wasn't about Cindy, but how easy it was for me to question his sincerity. He said after that dinner he was going to go extremely low contact with her anyways. And D, he apologized for not speaking up about the disrespect Cindy was showing towards me and for also leaving like that. Then after Jake said everything, mother-in-law explained to Jake about the situation from her perspective. She scolded him a lot as well. In short, she told him that as a husband, it was his responsibility to make me feel like I am his priority, and that he disappointed me the moment I had to come to him to ask for establishing boundaries. As a husband, it was his duty that I never would have to come to him about this in the first place. She also asked him about how he would have felt had it been a guy on my lap, and he had no answer for it. She told him what I did was an eruption of suppressed feelings, and as a husband, it was his duty to go after me and never let me leave in the first place. There were a lot of things said by her, and Jake seemed to realize and sincerely apologized for his actions. She told him if he ever pulled such a stunt ever again, then not to expect her to take him in. Later, she took me for a walk. It was just the two of us, and there she explained some things to me as well. She said that she's sorry for everything, but told me that even at her house, Jake was distraught. He didn't tell her because he most likely knew he was wrong too, but was overwhelmed about everything as well. She said in no way is she excusing her son's behavior, but she would hope that I would forgive him. She also said that in no circumstances do I need to leave my house, as it was my house and my family's. She said I shouldn't be afraid in speaking my mind if anything else makes me uncomfortable, and to talk to her if Jake does something stupid again, and she will set him straight. She hoped we would work it out since she has seen our love for each other, and it would be sad to see us split up due to some disrespectful brat, her words. She said she cannot have a say in our issues, but suggested that we should get counseling to understand each other better. She even bought ice cream for me. I know it's a bit childish, but she said sweet things work as a charm when people are upset, and well, she was right. Well, it was awkward at night. Jake came into our room and we didn't know what to say. After a while, we talked and we both apologized to each other. However, I did tell him that I was angry at him to tell everything to Sean and was deeply hurt by the text he sent me. He said he didn't know what I was talking about, and I showed him the text. He said he didn't tell Sean about our fight and only told him that he was at his mom's place. He called Sean, and well, it turns out Sean told Cindy and told her how she went too far at the party. Then Cindy made a huge sob story about how I was passive aggressive with her the whole time, how I would always try to question her character and act insecure and jealous. She even went on to say that I was always like that with her even when she was a kid, that I never liked her and always tried to manipulate people into thinking I was an angel while she was a little shit. Well, that made him angry to think about how I have been treating Cindy, and he sent those texts. Jake and I were baffled by such accusations, and he tried to explain to Sean how it wasn't true, but then Jake just let it be and decided to go no contact with Cindy and extremely low contact with Sean. Jake apologized again, but we just cuddled and slept. Well, Cindy is out of our lives for good now, and we've decided to go to counseling for better communication in the future. Let's see how everything goes in the future, but yeah, we are not getting divorced. I know a lot of you people wanted me to show Jake this post, but he was so sad and got scolded a lot already, so I decided not to show him the post for now. Maybe in the future. Sorry for all this rambling. Have a good day. Edit. I read people saying that we should be no contact with Sean too, and I felt that it would be best to let that friendship go as well. So I talked to my husband about it, and he agreed. So he sent a text to Sean stating that we could not be friends with him, and then blocked him as well. To clarify, I have somewhat forgiven Jake for his actions, but I told him he needs to rebuild the trust that I had. So I know I can rely on him in situations like that. He agreed, and we will get couples counseling as well.
My boyfriend scammed a scammer. I've been dying to tell y'all this story. So my boyfriend, just like literally every boy in the United States, is obsessed with Facebook Marketplace. So he posts his truck for sale on Facebook Marketplace. He doesn't have many people interested, but he has this one guy who's being persistent and just keeps messaging him. They start talking on the phone. They're talking for probably like a week leading up to this. Well, the guy finally says he can come this particular day. Well, me and my boyfriend were planning on going fishing in the morning. So I get up early, go to his house. We leave to go fishing at like 6:30. It's like 45 minutes to the lake from his house and 45 minutes home, all while we're driving the truck he's about to sell, and we have a boat attached to it. So nothing is wrong with this truck, no signs of anything. So we're trying to kind of rush home from fishing to make it to his house to clean out his truck, and so he can have time to go get the title at his parents' house. So we rush home with the truck, everything's still fine, clean the truck out, everything is completely fine. And after I helped him clean it out, I'm like, okay, Joe, sorry, but I gotta go. You're meeting him in your grandparents' yard, so they'll be there. It's not like he's just gonna go meet him on an old dirt road or by himself. So I take off, I got things to do. He runs to his parents' house 10 minutes away, grabs the title, comes back home, 10-minute drive. He was obviously late at this point, getting to his grandparents' house where he's meeting the guys. But the guys were also late, so it didn't really matter. 2 men come and look at this truck. Well, while one of them is talking to him, the other one is not around. The next thing Joe knows is that there's oil spewing everywhere. The truck is acting like it's literally blown up. The men who were supposed to buy the truck said that they had drove 5 hours to get there. So they didn't want to leave without the truck, so they're like, this truck is obviously blown up, but I will give you less than half what you wanted for it originally because it's blown up. But it's not a big deal because we'll just use it as parts. It's whatever. Because you need a new motor. Thank goodness that Joe told them no. All of this was really friendly. They left, and Joe was going to keep the truck, thought he was going to need a new motor. He calls me, tells me what happened, and I'm like, that is crazy. Like, we just drove it, and it was perfectly fine. Well, after that, he obviously starts looking at his truck. I'm glad these men had already left at this point. And he realized things are just not exactly right. And I'll let him kind of tell you all the details of, like, what they did to make this truck look like it was blown up. So once Joe figures out that this isn't right, he calls some people, tries to figure out what we can do about this situation. Meanwhile, he's still messaging the guy who came and looked at the truck. After talking to a lot of people, Joe realized that he could potentially have these men arrested. So Joe texts the men, tell them, the ones who are going to buy the truck, to come back and he'll sell it for the price that they wanted. Well, when the men arrive, deputies, sheriffs, everyone comes up. And instead of 2 men this time, 3 men were there, and all of them went to jail. Apparently this is like an actual thing that people do. Oil scamming is what you call it. I'd never heard of it before, never heard of it happening to anyone, but it was absolutely insane.
So I did just get escorted by security out of my prom. Story time. Don't worry, it wasn't because I was like drinking or smoking or doing anything illegal, whatever. It's because I did cry and I couldn't stop. Basically, the whole entire time I was feeling like really, like, I was having like really bad anxiety and like, I was just like overthinking everything. Like, it's not even like about how I look. Like, I mean, maybe that's part of it, I don't know. I just was feeling really like weird and like not like myself. Like, normally I'm like fun at parties or whatever. But yeah, I was just feeling like such a loser. I kept going to the bathroom. So this one time I'm going in the bathroom and it's just me and this other girl and I'm like, you know, talking to her, whatever. And then she like starts like, she was like getting mad at me. Like, she wasn't yelling at me, but like she kind of was. She was like, it was a little mean, but like she just started like going off on me kind of. And the whole night I was just feeling so like weird and like anxiety ridden, whatever. So as soon as she started doing that, I like fucking start crying and I'm like, why are you being mean to me? Like a fucking loser. I was just having a bad night. And so the fucking security person comes in there and she's like, you guys have been in here for too long, like get out. And I'm like, can't you see I'm crying? Like what? Like I can't, like, what do you want me to go back into the dance crying? Whatever. So she says we can like go sit in this hallway and talk, that nobody's in the hallway. And whatever, we're talking. She keeps telling us like 5 more minutes. We talked it out. I don't want any drama with the girl. Like, I don't care about that. But like, I just looked like such a weak little pussy. Like, and I'm not like that. Like, I'm not the type of girl that gets confronted for something and starts crying. And by the way, the thing I got confronted for, we figured it out, both of us. That wasn't even the issue. So the security guard makes us leave there, and also you can't leave the dance early. For whatever reason, you can't leave early. So I'm stuck having to go back in and talk to people, but I couldn't stop crying. Like, I literally could not stop crying. Like, a tear never fully came out. Like, see, my lashes are so good, kind of. But, like, yeah, a tear never fully came out. I just kept being like, like that. Really bad. Really embarrassing. Like, I'm singing Party in the USA, and I'm like that. Eventually my sister talked to the security guard and asked if we can go sit back out there and talk, and we did, but then this other bitch comes out there and is like telling me we can't be out there because it's like sorry, she's not a bitch, but like she was, but we're not allowed to be out there because of like it's a legal reason. We can't be where teachers aren't seeing us. And I'm like, well, I just want some alone time, like whatever. I was kind of arguing, but like also not. Like, I was being nice, for as nice as someone can be that who's having like a freaking panic attack. She tells us we could leave, but like in the meantime we have to be sitting in the dancing area. So whatever, I go back in there, my mom's on the way, and she lets us leave early, which it was only 5 minutes early, yet they had a whole security guard walk us out of the fucking dance, fucking all these security people surrounding us, and I'm like, this is just unbelievable, and they're like yelling at me like for saying that, but like, it is unbelievable. Can't you see I'm having a moment? And you're fucking, like, what do you think I'm doing? You think I'm fucking high or some shit, and that's why I'm crying? Like, you can't just let me leave? But yeah, they all walked us out of there. Oh yeah, my strap broke. People are probably gonna like make stuff up and be like, oh, like she got kicked out, or maybe people didn't even realize it all, but yeah, whatever.
Anyone else find it really interesting that every time they start talking about or actively trying to ban TikTok, it's usually within about a month of a lot of us starting to agree on some stuff? Like, let's just think back to the last proposed TikTok ban, which subsequently also happened around this time last year. What were some of the biggest news stories, and therefore some of the biggest videos on this app about? We had student loan forgiveness being canceled, which sucked. The East Palestine Railway disaster happened, which also sucked. And then we also learned that child migrant workers were being used as a form of cheap labor in food and auto manufacturing across the US. And on top of that, inflation was still running rampant. And what was really interesting, that was regardless of background, I'm talking age, race, religion, gender, sexuality, side of the political spectrum, a lot of us started to agree on some stuff. I'm talking the cost of higher education being out of control and maybe we should do something about it. Massive transportation monopolies should probably be subjected to higher safety regulations, if not broken up. Oh yeah, and maybe we shouldn't have children working in dangerous manufacturing jobs because it's not the 1800s anymore. Let's think back just to the last month. What were some of the biggest news stories and subsequent videos on this app once again about? The fact that our presidential election is once again between two Alzheimer's-ridden dementia dinosaurs that nobody likes, tracking congressmen and senators selling stocks at an alarming rate, boycotts and strikes against companies like Kellogg's, oh yeah, and presidential candidates saying we need to raise the retirement age, to which everyone under the age of 40 collectively said, get f***ed. Once again, it seems like a lot of us are starting to agree on some stuff, and they want the app gone. The most annoying part to me is that it's always under the guise of national security, which is complete BS. If this had anything to do with national or private security of data, they would create sweeping legislation and reforms regarding the practice of tracking, storing, and selling data for any platform that wants to operate within the United States. But what a shocker, there never is. But TikTok's owned by China. Yeah, and they probably have all your data, and here's the kicker. You're not important enough to be anything other than a tiny little insignificant blip on a massive sheet of data that they actually use and have. But Instagram and Facebook don't sell my data to China. That's actually where you're wrong. They've both been caught doing that. And even when they're not doing that, they just sell it to third-party companies who then go and sell it to China anyways. And I'm not trying to excuse the selling of personal data. It's a serious concern that needs to be addressed on a national, if not global scale. But you are seriously showing your technological illiteracy if you have been online in any capacity for the past decade and don't think that somebody who wants to get your data doesn't have the capacity to go and do so. TikTok isn't perfect, and we definitely need better laws surrounding personal autonomy on the internet. But on the other hand, I've learned more about world and local news from first-hand perspectives of those being affected from the videos they produce on this app just in the past year than I have from every other form of media put together in the past year. Just as an example, I learned about the French riots from Dylan Page 3 weeks before I saw them on any major news publication. And even then, I had to go looking for them. On top of that, for a lot of people, including myself, this constitutes as a part-time or a full-time job. But it's not just the creators who are going to get hurt by this. It's not just the people who have been able to monetize their creativity or their voices. We're talking about actively hurting a section of the US economy. We're talking about hurting advertising, marketing, promotional activities, crowdfunding, networking, startup, UGC. I've seen mom and pop shops go from chapter 11 to thriving because of the people and content that TikTok has platformed. How many small restaurants alone have been helped out by just Keith Lee himself? All I'm trying to say is that it's always super interesting that the only platform they ever seem to have a problem with national security and data privacy isn't the platform that leaked 500 million users' data in the past 2 years. It also isn't the platform that is actively promoting extremism. It also isn't the platform that has verifiably participated in election interference. And it also isn't the American platform that has been caught numerous times actively selling American data to China. No. It's the platform that a lot of the younger generations are on, that they're starting to make money on, and that they're starting to agree on. Sorry for the long-winded rant. I'll go back to making comedy and voiceover videos now. Follow me on Insta and YouTube. Links up in the bio, because who knows how much longer this platform's going to be around.
Am I wrong for throwing my husband out after finding nudes from the nanny? I'm new to Reddit, but my little sister suggested I ask here. I'm 28 female, my daughter is Cassie, 11 months, and my husband is Alex, 35. So basically, it's just what the title said. I had Cassie and then returned to work, psychologist, and I could never be a stay-at-home mom. I'm actually French, but live in the US, so when I returned at the 4-month mark, as I had a difficult birth, we looked around to find a nanny to look after Cassie while myself and Alex were at work. We saw a few girls, but then one of Alex's colleagues suggested his daughter, who had dropped out of college. Let's call her Liv, 20 female. Everything everything went well. Admittedly, I did notice her being quite attached to Cassie, but I brushed it off as a good friendship between the two. She also liked Alex. It was obvious she had a crush on him, always batting her lashes and giggling. I actually found it amusing as I'm confident in myself. He always laughed it off with me too. But then on Thursday night, he asked me to do something on his phone while he bathed Cassie, and I saw some pictures flash up from Liv. When I looked at them, they were obviously sexy nudes. She was wearing skimpy lingerie and in a provocative pose. I looked back at the history and she had been sending these for a while. As far as I can see, Alex never responded, but obviously texts can be deleted. When I asked him, he got defensive and told me to stop using my psychiatrist tricks on him. I was not happy with his non-answers and it ended up in a shouting match waking Cassie. So I got him a bag and threw him out. Told him he's not welcome back until I have answers. I'm considering taking Cassie back home to see my family in France for a little bit. His mom and friends have been blowing up my phone saying I'm being too harsh and they were harmless texts. Nevertheless, I feel disrespected and that doesn't fly with me. Was I too harsh? Should I expect his claims that he never responded?